Hello and thanks for joining me again. You'll always get good food here on this channel. And today I am speaking about microwave mentality, or to give it a full title, the sure failure of a microwave mentality. In generations gone by, people worked the land to survive by growing crops and raising animals. They had a farming mentality. They realised that if you plant a seed, it's going to take some time to grow. And if you have a baby animal, you can't just take it to market the next week. But after the flood, God promised Noah that while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. That's Genesis 8 and verse 22. There are natural cycles, 13-week cycles, we call them seasons. We're all familiar with the seasons, and farmers need to know in which season to sow their costly seed. Very costly as their seed. They don't want to sow it in winter, for example. It won't grow. Okay, let's have a look back at that promise again in Genesis 8:22. He says, while the earth remains, a seed, then put a break, seed time and harvest will not cease. So after seed comes time and then the harvest. A farmer knows that when he sows seed, he'll have to wait some time before he expects a crop. But in modern times, modern men and women, we no longer want to wait for the plants to grow to maturity. And so we put them in greenhouses and raise the temperature, all sorts of stuff now in modern society. Let's have a look at making bread. My wife will not buy commercially made bread. It's got chemicals in it which are not good for the thyroid, for example. So instead of buying industrially made bread using chemical yeast, my wife makes sourdough bread, which is extremely healthy. It contains no lectin and it relies on fermentation using airborne yeast, natural yeast in the air. Now, she has to wait a whole week for the batch of yeast to ferment in a jar. And then for each batch of dough, there's a 3-hour wait, and then some kneading, followed by another 3-hour wait, and an hour of cooking in the oven. About 7 hours to make a loaf of bread. But when they come out the oven, wow, they're just beautiful. As a part of what we call progress in society, microwave ovens were invented. And after the microwave oven comes the microwave phone, and society changed. Mentality changed. We no longer had to wait for hours to cook a meal. We come in from the office, the day's work, or wherever we've been for work during the day, and we're in a hurry, we've got to feed the kids, so we put something in the microwave. We don't have a microwave. People do, they put microwave recipes in the oven and nuke it. Neither do we have to wait for our phone messages, because people go around with these things in their ears and they have the phone messages to their earpiece all the time while they're in the fields, at work or on the bus, wherever they are. They are cooking their brains, I call them cancer boxes, using microwaves to cook our fatty brains and other areas like the breasts and the prostate, depending on where you put your phone. Anyway, I digress. I don't own a mobile phone, and we don't own a microwave oven. Above all, as Christians, we should avoid a microwave mentality. McDonald's, for example, just my last example, can't resist this. You arrive at McDonald's, those who go to McDonald's, I don't go to McDonald's, you make your order, you drive a little way down to a hatch and your meal comes out. It's almost instant. The world loves things to be quick, or better still, instant. But this kind of mindset does not fit in to God's way of doing things. In Mark 16:18, Mark records that Jesus said, lay hands on the sick, they shall recover. Now, someone with a microwave mentality will go and lay hands on a sick person in the wheelchair or the bed and expect them to jump out of the bed or the wheelchair. And if they don't, their faith takes a knocking, really is damaged, because they think, well, it should have been there, it should have been, otherwise it didn't work. That is a microwave mentality. On the other hand, someone with a biblical farming mentality realizes that sicknesses took a time to establish in the body, and sometimes health could take a time to re-establish in the body. And we must learn to be patient. Now, I'm not saying I don't prefer to see an instant miracle rather than a steady recovery, but body nerves need to re-communicate healing instead of pain. And they learn to communicate pain. You have to unlearn that. It takes time. So, if recovery of health is progressive, we should be grateful to God for his healing power and not say, well, it didn't work. That is characteristic of a microwave mentality. In his parables, Jesus said the key parable was the parable of the sower. And Luke was the only writer, it's recorded in 3 Gospels, Matthew, Mark and Luke, but Luke was the only writer who mentioned that the good ground needs to steadily bring forth fruit with patience. That's Luke 8 and verse 15. We learn the same truth in Hebrews. The Hebrews writer to the Hebrews says it is with faith and patient endurance, or faith and patience, that we inherit the promises. These are called the power twins. Faith on its own is not going to do it. Sometimes we need to say, okay, I've believed, I've received, I'm now going to be patient. And we know that God's answer to the cry to our heart, especially if we're sick, is to send his word to heal us. That's been looked at in Psalm 107, verse 19, in a recent video. Our part is to believe the promises of God. Believe those promises are yea and amen every single time. 2 Corinthians 1:20. Yea and amen. God said it, I believe it, that settles it for me. So we need to sometimes let the fruit of patience do a perfect work in our hearts. That's James 1 and verse 4. So let's develop that fruit of patience. Let's not dismiss something if it doesn't happen instantly. We wait for the breakthrough. The breakthrough will come because it's based on the promises of God. Amen? Yes and amen.